Ikon's leader BI, YG Entertainment, and corruption. The scandal explained. Kim Hanbin, or BI, is a singer, rapper, composer, and producer who was the leader of YG Entertainment's boy group Ikon, formed through Who Is Next and Mix and Match. Before Ikon, BI was already dubbed a prodigy, self-composing music, and was tipped to be the next G-Dragon. He has collaborated on many songs such as Blackpink's Whistle, Winner's debut song Empty, and co-creating Ikon's albums prior to his departure. Due to his contributions, BI has also won the Best Composer Award at the 2018 Melon Music Awards and had a bright future ahead of him. So, what happened? On June 2019, Dispatch published an article that suspected BI had purchased illegal narcotics back in 2016, about 2 years prior. So, why is narcotic use illegal in South Korea? South Korea takes illegal narcotic possession and use very seriously under the Narcotics Control Act. The government states celebrity drink-related crimes have a negative impact on society and influence young people who are less aware of the dangers of substance use. However, not only do the government take this seriously, so does the public, and it takes an exceptional amount of PR work to alleviate some of the stigma surrounding substance abuse, and one's public image can never be fully redeemed once obtaining a criminal record. YG Entertainment have had their fair share of substance scandals, including G-Dragon's infamous MJ use in a club toilet, which he had to do a very public interview to try and redeem his image in the public eye. Top's MJ scandal involving Han Seo Hee, but more on her later, which has irrevocably altered his reputation, to which he had to enter the military for, and 21's Park Bom's pill prescription scandal. Of course, it's not only YG. A recent example is BTOB's Jung Il-hoon's MJ court case and subsequent entering into the military to try and avoid any consequences. Soon after this Dispatch 2019 report relating to BI's suspected drink use, YG initially tried to squash any rumours by explaining a monthly drinks test is actually done at the company on all its artists, and that Ikon were tested twice because they were about to have a comeback, and that none of the members tested positive. A notable lawyer involved in the Burning Sun Club scandal, Bang Jong-hyun, stated that an internal drink test isn't done at the company in order to deter its artists from using drinks, but simply to prevent investigation from the police and avoid public scorn if a test comes back positively. It can all be dealt with swiftly within the company and avoid scandal. However, even though YG tried to shield BI, he still ended up apologizing on his Instagram and initially only confessed wanting to use narcotics and did not confess that he had actually used them yet, and gave his reasoning for using drinks back in 2016, stating that the pressure and stress was too much and he wanted to use narcotics to alleviate his troubles. He apologized to the public and to his fellow Ikon members and to everyone he'd hurt and announced that he was leaving Ikon. YG Entertainment then posted an apology and stated BI's contract had been terminated. Since Ikon's album had recorded prior to BI's departure, YG announced that they would still include the music BI co-produced, as it was too late to change so much of the album for a February release, but added another song that the members created. Furthermore, BI was removed from any programming he was going to feature in, such as Law of the Jungle, Grand Buddha Guest, and Stage K, and his face was blurred out in Ikon-related content. The public was divided, with fans signing a petition protesting BI's exit from Ikon with 800,000 signatures, while others stated BI is better off without YG, he'll bounce back with another label, whereas other netizens believed BI's hair bleaching straight after his departure from the company was a sign of guilt, as bleached hair messes with drink test results, and he had not publicly stated yet that he had used drinks. So this looked like a greater admission of guilt. Bleaching one's hair was a similar issue with what happened to Park Yoo-chun's drink case. Now, why did it take 2 years for Dispatch to publish this article? The reason why it took 2 years for Dispatch to report this incident is because, Dispatch explain, YG Entertainment colluded with the police back in 2016 to try and bury the incident and prevent any further investigation into BI or any other artists involved. Days after this report, netizens' anger led to BI's case being formally reopened and investigated, starting with a drink test that had to be done once BI's bleached hair wouldn't tamper with results. So it was done in 2020 instead. Although netizens argued that it gave him adequate time to remove all potential narcotics from his system if he had any. The reason why Dispatch could publish their 2019 report was due to Han Seo Hee. Now, who is Han Seo Hee? Mentioned previously, she is a former YG Entertainment trainee who, back in 2017, was involved in an MJ scandal with Big Bang's Top, which led them to both being sentenced on probation. On June 4th, 2018, Han Seo Hee through Bang Jong-hyun, a lawyer who had been suspicious of YG's activities thanks to the Burning Sun Club incident, filed an anonymous report to the South Korean Anti-Corruption and Civil Rights Commission regarding YG's collusion with the police to bury BI's drink investigation back in 2016. Now, why did Han Seo Hee submit this report to the Anti-Corruption Commission? Well, in August 2016, Han Seo Hee was arrested for possessing drinks. The police took her phone and found chat logs between her and Ikon's BI. The two were discussing drinks. They also found conversations between her and Winners Lee Sang-hoon, who, in his chats with Han Seo Hee, had heard BI failed YG's recent internal drinks test and panicked, messaging Han Seo Hee as he was fearful that he'd be implicated in these activities. When questioned by the police, Han Seo Hee explained that she was not a seller, but simply a deliverer of narcotics to YG artists, confessing that back in May 2016, she delivered 10 doses of LSD to a location near BI's accommodation at his request, and explained in detail her methods of delivery. This was confirmed through her chat logs, where BI asked about using both MJ and LSD together, as he was interested in purchasing both. In Dispatch's 2019 report, they comment on how suspicious it was that BI wasn't summoned to the Yongin police station for questioning, even though he was clearly linked to Han Seo Hee. And this is because a few days after she was arrested and questioned by the police, she changed her statement, now stating that BI asked for LSD but did not purchase it. When asked how BI managed to obtain MJ, she claimed she didn't know. So, the police concluded from this new statement that the evidence was circumstantial and not enough to investigate further. However, when Dispatch asked external investigators about this, they found fault with the police's decision. Now, the question is, why did Han Seo Hee change her initial statement? She claims that on the 23rd of August, a day after she gave her initial statement to the police, YG Entertainment CEO Yang Hyun-suk called her into his office, took her phone, and allegedly intimidated her into changing her statement. As evidence of this meeting, Han Seo Hee took a photo in the bathroom of the YG building to prove it took place when and where she said. She also stated that Yang Hyun-suk threatened that he could ruin her career and that he hated seeing his boys in trouble, and that if BI was tested for drinks by the police, that he could ensure he could remove all traces of drinks from BI's body before a test, and that when that test came back negative ultimately, she'd be sued for the false claim. He also allegedly told her that he had the power to see all reports published by the police, and that he would know what she'd told them. Yang Hyun-suk, however, denies her allegations, confirming they did talk in his office, but he never threatened her, and only wanted to clarify that BI never tested positive for drinks, and that she'd be sued for spreading false information if she didn't change her statement. A few days after this meeting, Han Seo Hee went back to the police station, now accompanied by a lawyer, and changed her statement. She claims this lawyer was supplied to her by YG. Quote, "He told me he would give me a lawyer and pay for the lawyer too. I was scared. I didn't have a choice." Although Yang Hyun-suk denies this. A police officer involved at the time described the pair as weird, with Han Seo Hee seeming intimidated, and every time she was asked a question, the overbearing lawyer would write down an answer for her to reply with. When asked about Winners Lee Sang-hoon's involvement with her, this time she denied it, and denied meeting with BI too. So after changing her statement, the case was closed, and BI was not investigated further. In terms of Winners Lee Sang-hoon, in 2019, Dispatch reported that Han Seo Hee's chat logs with him involved discussing BI, as Lee Sang-hoon was worried about BI failing his internal company drink test, and asked if Han Seo Hee had been in contact with BI and to call him instead of messaging on a new number. He asked to meet up with Han Seo Hee, and when she went to the location, she was met with a YG employee instead, who told her to report to him if she heard anything in regards to BI. Lawyer Bang Jong-hyun stated that Sang-hoon was probably trying to conceal his involvement with the scandal by acting as a mediator between YG and Han Seo Hee to try and prevent Han Seo Hee from giving any statements to the police and cut the investigation short. However, luckily for Sang-hoon, although BI's drink case was reopened in 2019, further investigation into him was not done, which could be due to YG's intervention or that there genuinely wasn't enough concrete evidence against him. It was after being made to change her statement that Han Seo Hee submitted an anonymous report to the Anti-Corruption Commission pertaining to BI and Hyun Suk's coercion on June 4th, 2017. She submitted it through lawyer Bang Jong-hyun, who also filed a report of the suspicious activities occurring in the Burning Sun Club. 10 days later, on June 14th, the report was made public and it was contested as valid by the Anti-Corruption Commission. So, BI's investigation was reopened and a drink test was ordered, along with a court case and trial. Once it became publicly known that Han Seo Hee was the one to submit this anonymous report with the evidence, she took to Instagram to ask the public not to direct anger towards her, but to Hyun Suk, stating, "I'm just a whistleblower," and that she was fully cooperating with the police on BI's investigation, but made it known that she was worried Hyun Suk would intervene with the case, threaten her, and shut down the investigation again, hence why she wanted this to be made public, to prevent his meddling. And that she merely delivered drinks and did not sell them, purchasing them from a Mr. C and then delivering them to BI for the same price. Therefore, she did not profit from the sales. This could mean she was used as a middleman to help YG artists distance themselves and reduce their chance of being connected in case the seller was caught by the police. She states that she was the one who tried to stop BI from purchasing drinks in the first place, but that doesn't really make sense when she was caught smoking MJ with Top. The police, who received backlash after this 2019 report was published for getting rid of BI's files and closing the investigation, defended themselves, with the Suwon police stating that it was the National Prosecution Office back in 2016 who demanded they stop their investigation relating to BI and Han Seo Hee and hand over whatever evidence they had relating to BI, stating that they were currently investigating YG privately. But as soon as the evidence was handed over by the police, the investigation was ended there. NBC News asked for a statement from the prosecution office pertaining to this, and they claimed that they had never requested documents from the police and ominously confirmed that they were still investigating YG Entertainment but couldn't discuss it further. Frustrated by this, the public demanded that YG Entertainment and the National Prosecution Office both be investigated for collusion in working together to shut down BI's 2016 drink case. Bang Jong-hyun stated that many other YG artists are linked to BI's scandal and that the amount would be shocking to the public. However, other celebrities involved had already been outed or prosecuted too, he states, but he did not reveal their identities. He suspects that YG most likely shut down BI's investigation back in 2016 due to how many artists were involved, and that they would be revealed and prosecuted had the police been allowed to continue to investigate. Look how close Lee Sung-eun got to being in real trouble, so Hyun Suk may have wanted to nip this in the bud before too many artists got prosecuted. For instance, BI's scandal really hurt Ikon and the path to stardom that they were on, so it does have huge ramifications that take years to heal, and time is money in the entertainment business. Bang Jong-hyun added there was a Mr. C drink dealer who sold the drinks to Han Seo Hee, who could have revealed even more names and contacts, which could not have only entangled YG artists, but shareholders, CEOs, and artists of other companies, which would drastically reduce YG's stock prices and profits if this scandal broke out. Bang Jong-hyun stated that companies such as YG shouldn't be enabling their artists, who instill hopes and dreams into the younger generations, to be complicit in illegal activities, and that the bi-monthly drink test occurring in YG isn't done to prevent their artists from taking illegal drinks, but to ensure that they can quickly sort out a positive drink test result internally without involving the police and erupting into scandal and prosecution. Think of YG as a company that sells product, i.e. their artists. They do not want their products involved in scandal publicly, as it reduces their items' value and overall reduces profit. So, once the 2019 report was published and the public outcry ensued, BI's 2016 case was officially reopened 2020. Once the bleach from his hair could no longer affect drink test results, he did an official drinks test which came back negative. Attending court on August the 27th, 2021, BI's father read out his own testimony in a heartfelt letter, sincerely apologizing to the court for his son's actions. BI then confessed to using MJ 3 times between March and April 2016, and also confessed to purchasing but not using LSD during that time as well. Why did BI do what he did, and what was his reasoning? In court, BI explained that he was going through a tough time due to the pressures placed on him, not only by others, but by himself since debut. Being dubbed with the most impossibly high standard of being the next G-Dragon must have added to that stress. Soaring to fame so quickly in 2015, the pressure got to him. Quote, "I've always been my own worst critic and am highly competitive. I needed to perform better and better with each album and stage. I was young, immature, and irresponsible. I regret resorting to drinks to try and deal with the stress instead of leaning on and talking to others. I regret it constantly for being so stupid. I felt like I was in a corner and I made the wrong decision. It was a moment of weakness." He took full responsibility for his actions and has wanted to change the public's opinion of him, and ever since his case opened, he's partaken in volunteer work. This is reminiscent to Song Jia and the charity work she's been doing to redeem her image in South Korea as well. So, what does the foreign market, public, and fans think about him? After the scandal, BI was banned from Chinese social media. The Douyin and Weibo accounts he made previously were blocked. However, he reopened them on January the 1st of this year. But it is unclear if he has been blacklisted by the government. And it is also unclear if he will be able to promote in China currently. China is taking a stricter stance against idol worshipping in what's been called a rectification movement, as the Chinese government is trying to suppress the influence of pop culture and celebrities on the country, and the youths due to their negative influence arising from illicit activities and scandals, due to issues arising from people like Chris Wu's scandal and Lucas's, quote, unethical dating debacle. On a Chinese news site, BI was discussed. The consensus was that the public looks down on BI for his criminal record he now has due to admitting to purchasing illegal substances. However, there is a split, with some fans, both Chinese and Korean, defending him. For instance, an 800,000 to 900,000 petition was signed to keep BI in Ikon, whereas others have denounced him for being guilty. Other than China, BI's popularity still seems to have remained somewhat intact, which has enabled him to release music that has been well received, for example in countries like the US, which will be discussed later. After leaving YG in 2019, BI continued to work, featuring in Epic High's 2019 diss track critiquing the K-pop industry, and featuring in Lee Hee's single Savior. In court, BI confessed to purchasing and using MJ and purchasing but not using LSD. So during the back and forth of his court trial in 2020, BI released music to his SoundCloud, which included 4 a cappella tracks. His song Demo 1 was a reflective piece where he expressed his regret and remorse. Quote, "Yes, my words sound like excuses, but I never meant to hurt the fans and people I care about." In 2020, BI signed with IOK and created the 131 label to reflect his stage name, and became an executive director under the company. He was criticized by the public for continuing to openly make music and earn money while facing charges, but BI stated that rather than entering a hiatus, he wanted to use his influence as a K-pop star to spread positive messages, donating his 2021 March album proceeds to a non-governmental organization, World Vision, to youth in need. Later on, he was critiqued once again for releasing a June debut album, Waterfall, just days before his case was given a July trial date while facing criminal charges. His company apologized on their website, but said that they would stand by him while he reflected. Regardless of the public, BI's fans supported his releases, stating they were so raw and evoked with emotions, where BI was unflinchingly examining himself and reprimanding his past actions, that he wasn't excusing the bad behavior, but was owning up to it, and that he would become a better version of himself. Fans really enjoyed this more personal music, stating it was a pleasant departure from the overproduced and strictly managed K-pop music artists have to adhere to. Due to the hostility from the Korean media, BI had to use social media and the power of his connections to promote the album, and due to his efforts and pre-established Ikon popularity, his album Waterfall topped the iTunes charts in 24 countries and reached the top 10 in the US, entering Cannes, China, and Billboard Japan's charts, and was recognized by Time magazine. BI became a record holder for the most viewed debut music video from a male soloist within the first 24 hours of release. When interviewed as to why he continued to make music while awaiting trial, he explained it was due to the support he still received from fans. There were post-it notes stuck on a wall for him that he would read, letters that let him know that there were people still out there rooting for him and waiting for his music. Quote, "I made up my mind. I was going to release an album. Fans sent him studio equipment, which further spurred him on. Quote, "I went ahead with one thought, that I would repay all those people who were still by my side, and that it didn't matter if he received backlash from the public. He just had to release music for the people who wanted it. He didn't want his past deeds to dictate his music career and art." How do the Ikon members feel regarding BI's scandal and departure from the group? With their recent comeback, the Ikon members were allowed to discuss how they felt after BI left, stating that they couldn't leave their rooms or their dorms when news broke out, and that they were terrified for the group's future now that they had lost their leader, as BI's direction, his composing and lyricism was a big part of what gave Ikon their core sound and brand. So they had to create new music without that bass pillar. Do you think Ikon managed to successfully recover once BI left the group? Bobby has shown support for BI, commenting on one of BI's Instagram posts that was promoting his collaborative single with Destiny Rogers and Tyler Yahweh, Got It Like That, in May 2021. Fans were divided, with some happy that perhaps it wasn't just Bobby, but the other Ikon members who still supported BI's endeavours, but other fans were unhappy, scolding Bobby, stating that he shouldn't be supporting a criminal. The case and verdict. BI couldn't immediately take a drink test in late 2019 due to the bleaching of his hair. So, in 2020, once the investigation had recommenced, BI took a drink test and underwent questioning and trials. The test came back negative. However, BI had already admitted to purchasing and using MJ 3 times back in 2016, and also purchasing but not using LSD, and so he was indicted with a criminal record. The prosecution argued BI did not commit these acts out of curiosity and knew what he was doing when purchasing and using illegal goods, thus violating the Act on the Control of Narcotics, and wanted him to be sentenced to 3 years in prison with a hefty fine. However, BI's final verdict was decided on September 10th, 2021. The Seoul Central District Court did not sentence BI to jail. However, they still wanted to, quote, "make an example of him and educate the youth on the negative effects of drink use and possession on society, to deter fans from following in his footsteps." And since he admitted to the charges and demonstrated a reflection for his wrongdoing, as well as being a first-time defendant, BI was sentenced a probationary period of 4 years, where, if he is caught purchasing or using drinks, then he could face up to 3 years in prison. He also received a $1,300 fine and 80 hours of community service with 40 hours of a drink education course. Following the verdict, BI explained how when the scandal broke out, he fell into a deep and dark depression, hating himself, and thought about removing himself from the world entirely. But since the sentence, a weight has fallen off his shoulders, and he can now move forward and work on both himself and his music. Since the scandal, now and the future. Almost a month after his verdict, BI held his first online concert, and although he was unable to fully broadcast or promote the concert via the Korean media, VIP tickets sold out in 2 minutes. In November 2021, he released a single titled Cosmos, which celebrated this newly found freedom of his. On Chinese and Korean netizen forums, however, the discussion of BI has been comparing him to both Chris Wu and Lucas, stating his image is irredeemable and it is shameful to continue to support him, and that the Korean entertainment industry will never allow him to broadcast and perform on Korean TV again. But he's performed within the last 3 months on Esquire Korea's YouTube channel and on Arirang's Simply K-pop Con tour, and at the poolside party on July the 23rd in Seoul, which shows how far he's come in redeeming his public image, and maybe one day he'll be able to be broadcasted on Korean TV. Seeing as it's been difficult to fully promote in China and South Korea, BI is focusing on his international audience, who have readily accepted him since the scandal, and he has announced global projects in the works. BI has released a few collaborative singles in 2021. However, his 2022 release BTBT, in collaboration with Davita and Soulja Boy, was, in my opinion, the best song he's released so far. It was promoted internationally, and fans have dubbed him a social media expert, with the way that BI's been promoting himself online, due to his Instagram and TikTok lives, and teasing new music through them. He shows no signs of stopping, wanting to release more music both officially and through his SoundCloud. His intentions are to create new music to reinvent himself that pulls people out of their lowest moments, like the fans did for him. And even recently he released a song with Luna's Chu titled Lullaby, which shows he can collaborate with Korean artists artists and will enter the space if the Korean media will let him. He will also be performing in both Singapore and the Philippines. Additionally, he is branching out his label, adding more social media accounts, like the 131 store and the producers' accounts, shining a light on the team that works on the music. It seems like BI might be taking inspiration from another artist who had a similar path, Jay Park, and his creation of the AOMG label. That style of recruiting producers who can collaborate with him and who can also collaborate with other artists or make music of their own to create a more collaborative team that's less K-pop and more K-hip hop and R&B. But with his growing presence online and acceptance from international fans, it will not be surprising if we see more collaborations between BI and international artists in the future. What did BI's scandal mean to YG Entertainment? BI's scandal occurred around the same time as the Burning Sun Club scandal. The public were angered due to YG's alleged involvement with the police to cover up BI's drink purchase and use, and the Burning Sun Club scandal, which involved co-owner Big Bang Seungri, was allegedly involved in trafficking, providing escorts to high-paying clients, bribery, and roofing and filming women attendees at the club non-consensually. And side note, this is where Jung Jun-young comes in, with his golden phone, as Block B's Zico labeled it, filled with vile pictures and videos of drunken and roofied women being abused or being non-consensually filmed and assaulted. Club footage showed a man outside the club being assaulted by the employees, and when the police arrived, instead of arresting the employees or investigating them, the police instead beat up the man and arrested him, which further reinforces YG's involvement and collusion with the police. All of these controversies led to a publicly signed 30,000 signatured petition to the Anti-Corruption Commission with demands from the public to investigate YG Entertainment for collusion with the police and eliciting their artists' illegal activities. This led to Jung Jun-young's and Seungri's forced early retirement and court cases, as well as BI's departure from the company and his court case. Furthermore, Yang Hyun-suk left days after BI's departure, as well as his brother Yang Min-suk, embroiled in these allegations of coercion and tax fraud. The two stepped down as CEO and co-CEO. However, interestingly, although Yang Hyun-suk has yet to return to YG due to his ongoing court cases, Yang Hyun-suk's brother Yang Min-suk has been reinstated as co-CEO of YG Entertainment, which kind of seems to signal that in fact nothing has changed within YG, and who knows what collusion is still occurring behind the scenes, and it could be that BI was simply used as a scapegoat. Regardless, Yang Hyun-suk does not need to be reinstated as CEO in order to earn money, seeing as he has a 16.12% stake in YG Entertainment, and so passively earns income from the company's profits regardless. And he recently sold shares of YG Plus, YG Entertainment's subsidiary label, to his brother, who now has the biggest stock share in YG Plus. So basically it's almost a family business. And in terms of what Yang Hyun-suk is doing currently, a case has been opened against him for issues such as tax fraud, providing escorts to shareholders and stakeholders of the company, as well as attempting to cover up BI's drink case and coercing Han Seo Hee into changing her statement. He is testifying against Han Seo Hee and denying that he coerced her or that he attempted to hide BI's drink case, and is denying any relationship with the police. On May the 30th, during this open trial, Yang Hyun-suk revealed he actually met Han Seo Hee at an upscale brothel as an escort, as he was one of her clients, and the two began a personal relationship, with Yang Hyun-suk promising her a career as an idol, signing her up into YG. Text messages were presented in court confirming the two's close relationship, showing Yang Hyun-suk sending her tickets to YG artist concerts and her calling him Oppa. The revelation riled Han Seo Hee up in court, and she cussed him out, stating, "I don't know why I was afraid of that trash. He's not worth being afraid of, and I should have cussed him back then, in 2016, and it's my biggest regret." Her emotional outburst may have been provoked by Yang Hyun-suk and his lawyers, but nonetheless it may undermine her case, as it could paint a picture to the jury as Han Seo Hee being a rattled escort who was promised a career as an idol and is now a woman scorned, seeking revenge to ruin the man who didn't deliver on his promise to her. And in latest news, Han Seo Hee, who was under probation for 4 years in 2017 for drink use back in 2016, was caught again using drinks in June of 2020, and now on the 20th of July, she has received her sentence, which is 1 year and 6 months in prison. Since then, it is unclear whether Yang Hyun-suk will continue to be investigated, or if the investigation ends with Han Seo Hee's imprisonment. In terms of YG Entertainment, both BI and the Burning Sun Club scandal caused YG stocks to fall drastically. Therefore, plans to debut Treasure were made known to try and recuperate stock losses, and YG turned their attention to the international market since domestic profits slumped in 2020, with 70% of YG's revenue coming from overseas, earning money through Ikon's activities after BI left and GD's activities in China. Treasure's debut helped recuperate losses, and Blackpink's work, as well as Winner's activities and solo activities, also helped. COVID did slow things down, but regardless, YG managed to build the most expensive entertainment office ever made in South Korea. Now, a potential reason as to why YG have managed to stay afloat could be due to Hybe, as interestingly, Hybe and YG have a collaborative relationship. Hybe invested $63 million into YG's subsidiary, YG Plus, and Hybe owns 17.9% of YG's total shares. Furthermore, Hybe uses YG and YG Plus to sell merchandise and distribute content and media through their platforms. That is why you see platforms like Weverse and BNX feature not only Hybe artists, but YG artists too. So, this can help explain why the company has managed to stay afloat, build one of the most expensive buildings in the country, and continue to produce and fund high-quality comebacks for their groups, as it is in Hybe's best interests to keep YG subsidized and profitable. This also helps explain why in the last year, Hybe attempted to purchase SM Entertainment but were rejected, as both YG and SM were demoted to blue-chip companies. It was inescapable that YG were demoted from a blue-chip company, i.e. a top-tier company coined back in April 2013, to a mid-sized business on May 2021 due to the scandals and ultimately losing the company $1.8 million over the past 2 years. Since 2022, the company has been able to slowly recuperate its losses with Big Bang's comeback single, albeit T.O.P.'s announcement he has parted ways with the company, and Treasure's debut album, and of course their upcoming comeback, although Bang Ye-dam and Mashiho won't be participating. Both Winner and Ikon had their respective comebacks with concerts, and of course, Blackpink have announced a comeback album with a world tour, which should make a lot of money for the company. Furthermore, GD's resurgence into the public and social media activity could mean a Big Bang comeback, or at least a solo comeback, which could generate a lot of money for the company. So, in the end, it is unclear if YG is still under investigation for corruption and collusion with the police. One could argue that all these scandals, including BI's, hasn't led to any meaningful changes, and that the idols, BI in particular, was used as a scapegoat without actually getting into the root of the problem, i.e. drink use in South Korea, its legality, and idols' use of it, as well as entertainment companies' use of backdoor escort trafficking and police corruption. But what do you think?